Okay, guys, it is time for tip number 14. I'm excited about this one because this is a discussion that we have on the daily with patients. We have done hour-long workshops on this particular food item, and it's really, really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick deep dive, but this video is going to be a little bit longer than our typical videos. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Now, the reason being is the USDA has taught us for decades that the majority of our energy, the majority of our diet should actually be coming from grains. Now, here's the argument that they use. They say that grains are a good source of fiber as well as a good source of vitamins and minerals. I'm going to tell you that's false. Okay, the next time that you go to the grocery store, here's what I encourage you to do. Pick up a box of cereal, go ahead and look at the fiber, go ahead and look at the vitamins and minerals. Now, yes, you are going to see vitamins and minerals in there, you're going to see fiber in there, but if you compare them to the foods that we're telling you to eat, like your vegetables, your fruits, the fiber content does not come close to those whole foods, and the vitamin and mineral content does not come close either. Now, especially if these grains are actually processed, which 97% of the grains that we consume are processed, and we look at something like a cereal, that is a processed grain. So in that situation, what they actually have to do is they have to fortify these nutrients back into the food. So they fortify it with insoluble fiber as well as some vitamins and minerals. But here's what the majority of the population does not understand is grains actually contain something in them called anti-nutrients, right? Phytic acid, phytates. And what happens is the phytic acid actually binds to minerals like calcium, iron, zinc, which is really important. We've talked about that when it comes to immune function, as well as magnesium. This means that even though those are in the food, we're not absorbing all of them because of the anti-nutrients in the food as well. So that means that what's on your label isn't actually going to be what's absorbed in the body. Now, we know that a deficiency in things like calcium, iron, zinc, magnesium, we know that this could lead to things like skin conditions, bone and teeth conditions, osteoporosis, also blood disorders like anemia, and even inadequate blood pressure control, which is which is a big concern right now with COVID going on. We know that people with hypertension obviously are a greater risk for this illness. Now, grains also damage the gut, okay? I'm sure all of you have heard about leaky gut. Now, one of the main reasons is because of gluten. So if you insist on eating your grains, go ahead and eat your grains. Just please make sure that they are gluten-free. I encourage everybody to go completely grain-free, and you'll find out in a little bit. But at a bare minimum, go gluten-free. Now, gluten is a protein found in grain products like wheat, barley, rye, millet, spelt. All of those have gluten in them. Now, what gluten does is it actually activates something in the gut called zonulin. And what zonulin does is it actually affects the tight junctions of the gut. So in the digestive tract, in our gut, we have tight junctions that prevent things from passing through the gut into the bloodstream. And what happens when we consume gluten is it activates zonulin. Zonulin opens up these channels, and that's when we get food material that actually enters our bloodstream. And whenever we have something that is foreign in the bloodstream, what happens, obviously we're going to have an autoimmune response, right? The body is actually going to attack it and try and get rid of it. So not just gluten, though, guys. When we look at any grains, they contain lectins. Now, these are compounds that they get undigested, okay? And what happens is they actually trick the transporters in the gut and once again cause them to open, and that's when we can get proteins and undigested material to actually enter the bloodstream. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, doc, I'm good. I don't consume my grains. I do have some pseudo grains like quinoa. It's a better option, but here's what most people don't realize, and even most nutrition quote-unquote experts. Quinoa has a substance in it called saponins. It's like a soap compound that actually breaks up fat molecules. So we got to remember that our cells are made up of fat, and these saponins can break down that fat layer. Now, the gut is no exception to that. We got to realize that it can break down the cells within the gut and also create a leaky gut situation. So if you're eating a lot of these pseudo grains, once again, it can cause some serious gut issues. Grains also contain protease inhibitors. All that means is they inhibit the digestion of certain proteins. So if we have those lectins, if we have the gluten, if we have the saponins that kind of open up the gut, then these undigested proteins enter into the bloodstream. That's when we have systemic inflammation, autoimmune reactions, etc. Now, grains also promote inflammation in a different way. Remember, we've talked a lot about omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid ratio. We want the ratio to be as close to 1 as we can. Well, grains are much higher in omega-6 than omega-3, so they contribute to that imbalance. Now, the inflammation story does not stop there. Highly processed grains, which is 90% of the grains that we consume, like I said before, what they do is they actually promote inflammatory cytokines. And one of the ways that they do that is we got to realize that these grains are actually a fast sugar. In other words, what they do is they spike our blood sugar, they spike insulin. As a result, we talked about earlier, the cell, the mitochondria, actually start to produce free radicals. And this leads to an inflammatory cascade. So not only is it going to mess with our blood sugar and potentially create issues like diabetes, potential heart disease, there's an immediate inflammatory response as well because of it raising our blood sugar. It's just a very, very dirty type of fuel. So what I encourage you guys to do a little bit more research on grains. The majority of our grains are processed anyways. We should be staying away from those processed foods. When we look at the processed grains, the processed sugar, the refined oils, you clump all that together, that's 60% of the standard American diet. So it's no wonder that the majority of individuals are walking around systemically inflamed. This is going to promote chronic illness, and it's going to set us up for acute illness. So please, please, please limit your grains. If you got to have your grains, at bare minimum, make sure that they're gluten-free so that we can help protect the gut. We know how important the gut is in immune function. Like I said, this is an hour-long workshop. If I lost you on any of this, please reach out to us. We can actually email you our workshop where we do deep dives into grains and the detrimental effects on our health. Appreciate you guys, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow with tip number 15.